It's time to rendezvous with cassidoo. Boo! Y'all, this video's a day late. I still have a sty in my eye, which is not looking great. I really busted my camera at my desk. I think like the battery exploded or something. Anyway, let's rendezvous with cassidoo. In case you're new here, my newsletter is a weekly newsletter full of links, a joke, practice coding, and more. And this is me kind of summarizing what happened in each issue each week. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, this first quote, just to get us started: "Your work feels different when it's made with love and care," from Maggie Kang of K-pop Demon Hunters fame. Congratulations, Maggie Kang and team, for winning that Oscar. I was personally thrilled, and I really liked the Golden performance where they started with the Hunters mantra. I teared up. It was amazing. Anyway, next thing. Oh yeah, it was Pie Day this weekend. Very exciting. I had pie with some friends and family. I hope you all did too. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day today. Wearing green. Yeah. Okay, so for web links of the week, I thought this first article was very, very good, where it was "What do coders do after AI?" I think Anil Dash, his blog posts have been particularly interesting about AI because I think he does like solidly balanced takes while also being like, this is the future. Anyway, I like his angle on this, and I thought that there was a really interesting quote in particular right here where it was: "The reason that tech generally and coders in particular see LLMs differently from everyone else is that in creative disciplines, LLMs take away the soulful human parts, and in coding, LLMs take away the judgery and leave the human soulful parts to you." I thought that was kind of that was something that I hadn't really thought of before. I don't know if I fully agree with it, but it was a take that I kind of liked hearing. It made me think. The next article from Keith is this "too much color" post, and it's basically how much color is too much color, or how perfect do you have to be? And attached to this article, there's a whole lot of math about how precise you have to be with different colors and stuff, but there's also a game attached to it. And so in the game, it's just, can you perceive the difference? And so the first ones are pretty easy. You know, it says, got it, it encourages you, that's fun. But then it does get significantly harder after a certain point, and I don't know what your vision's like. It could probably be harder for you right now as I click through. It's not too bad, but it does get to a point where I was literally like, do I need to clean my monitor? What's going on? The whole article is really just like, how much color again is too much color, and how precise do you really have to be if people can't really see the difference between certain colors? Anyway, this game is too addicting. We simply must move on. This next article is the odometer effect, which is this odometer effect made with pure CSS, which is so cool. This is one of those things where the dynamics of CSS have changed so much because now we have the ATTR function and we have variables and so many things. And so when you look at the CSS, you're like, oh, geez Louise, that's a lot of math. But it's cool to see what you can do if you just experiment with all of these new things. I love where the language has gone. And this last one is not an article, it is a video, it is a talk about memory management from Shelley Vore. Shelley Vore has been on the Electron team for ages, for I want to say like 7 years or something. And as a result, if you know anything about the memes of Electron, there's always talking about memory management and size and all kinds of things. And so it has been very much a part of her job to know everything about memory management. And so this is a really good like deep dive and yet intro to understanding how memory management works. Now, this next section for things that interested me this week was a lot of videos. I've been, as just side commentary, I'm still wanting to blog a lot, but also post videos on this channel, and finding that balance is tough. But anyway, I had my round in the Mad CSS tournament. In case you didn't see it, or in case you don't know what it is, it's basically a bracket head-to-head tournament in CSS. You should watch it. It was fun. I won't spoil it for you. I did get a snazzy medal though, so that's pretty fun. Anyway, check it out. I also did this video for work for how to use the fleet command in the GitHub Copilot CLI. It's kind of a short and sweet video. I think it's maybe 2 minutes long, but it's a command that I haven't really used a ton. It allows you to run multiple agent sessions in parallel, which is interesting. And I admit, because I have a problem with control, I probably won't use it a ton because I don't like the idea of doing all these things at once. But there are some interesting use cases where, for example, if I wanted to say, hey, I want you to open up plan mode, and then with Fleet, say, I want you to come up with a test plan with Gemini, with Claude, with Copilot itself, with Codex, and then give me just a summary of what all of them say, where did they differ and stuff. So that would be an interesting use case with Fleet where it can do multiple things in parallel, but then like come together at the end. Anyway, this is more a video about like the possibility of doing it. You can check it out. And then finally, this video where I first introduced the sty in my eye, I talked about this newsletter and the anniversary. So first of all, in this video, I talk about how I used a few different agents. And it was particularly neat because I basically said, my newsletter is weekly. It has giveaways every anniversary. A bunch of companies put them together, help me come up with like a list of things to do. And anyway, the agents gave me a bunch of different spreadsheets to work with, reports to work with, and it was pretty neat. But this is also a call. The newsletter's anniversary is in 2 weeks. And so if you would like to get a prize, make sure you open that issue. But also, if you or your company would like to offer some prizes, please let me know. You could drop a comment here, or you could message me on various social medias, or just reply to the issue. And now it is time for our sponsor. Datto CMS is the headless CMS that won't make you regret your stack choices at 2 a.m. GraphQL and REST APIs out of the box, a smooth content modeling system that actually makes sense, cache tags, a great CLI, layered MCP, and an editor experience your non-technical folks will love. And we know that's a low bar, but still. Speaking of the box, it comes with all the buzzwords your content team's going to ask for: SEO, internationalization, visual editing, plugins, modular content, asset optimization, collaboration, versioning. You get the drill. It's bootstrapped, it's got a great free tier, it's fast, it plays nicely with all of your frameworks, is DX first, and refreshingly AI light. Give Datto CMS a try. Ad. And on to the interview question of the week. Last week I had you swap characters, just A's and B's, to get an alternating string. It was a neat question because it can get particularly weird if like all of the characters are on one end or the other, or things need a lot of swaps. But anyway, there were some great responses and you can check it out. This week's question actually came from my toddler talking a lot about fire trucks this week. But you're given a 2D grid representing a city, so each cell is either empty or it has a fire station or a building. The fire stations could serve buildings based on the horizontal and vertical moves. So return a 2D grid where each cell shows the minimum distance to the nearest fire station. It's a little tricky, but I thought this was a fun one, and there's some good examples there too. And finally, for cool things around the internet, this keyboard, I admit when I first saw it, I was like, is that AI generated? That's weird, but it's not. And I'm kind of obsessed with it. I really just liked the keycaps. I don't actually know what board this is, but it's clearly it's a 60% board or so, because it has the arrow keys, but it's all squished and it only has a few function keys. And I think it's so cool. Look at the menu key. I just love how derpy it is. Anyway, I will be seeking to purchase these keycaps. This next article for Does Culture Make Emotion? I thought it was it was a deep dive essay, a bunch of research, a bunch of cultural history, talking about kind of that question of nurture versus nature. I thought it was a really, really good article and very worth checking out. This next one is a video that in my newsletter I wrote on neutrinos because the whole video is about neutrinos, but it's actually titled My First Science Video in 3 Years, because if you haven't followed the Physics Girl YouTube channel, she has been dealing with long COVID, and it has been just kind of devastating to watch, but also just a real courageous story. And it's particularly cool to see that she's able to make these videos and kind of get through this terrible disease that she's been going through. Hot Dense. That was my nickname in high school. No, it was not. Anyway, this last one is a diary, but it's like a photography diary. And I thought it was really, really cool. David Altrath, he's a photographer where if you go throughout his site, I think his photography is particularly beautiful when I stumbled upon it. And I really just love this. Again, he calls it a visual diary of just photos that he takes along his journeys through life. And the photos are beautiful. I love the angles that he picks. It's very architectural. Some of them are very like producty and staged, and some of them are just like he was out for a walk or something, and he has such a good eye. Anyway, I thought these were really pretty. And finally, for the joke, did you know vending machines kill more humans than sharks? Maybe it's because sharks rarely use vending machines. Okay, that's all for now, folks. Have a good week. Be safe, make good choices, and clean your face so you don't end up with a sty in your eye. I'll see you next week. Bye!